something I'm going to change that I just don't really like, when I had the wing flipped over and the top skin was facing up, I could see a lot of deformations where these tank supports were. As I kind of would look at it in the right light at a shallow angle, you could really see in the skin, because the wing skins are thin and they're gonna make out any inconsistencies here. And one thing I noticed is partially probably my fault when I was riveting these. Doesn't look like I was really keeping the tank support tight against the skin, so I have a little gap there. Now, I don't have all the rivets in yet, but I probably didn't get a good tight fit there. But I started looking at this and I'm like, well, wait a minute. The way it works is you've got the tank support going over the flange of the rib. The ribs are 25 thousandths thick, so you got a 25 thousandths gap from here to the first rivet. You're gonna get some skin deformation on there no matter what. You're gonna see that. Same thing at this end. You got 25 thousandths flange on the rib, and then your first rivet's clear over here, so it's gonna go from 25 thousandths to 0 here. You're gonna see that. I'm gonna drill these out. Fortunately, I didn't put all the rivets in, I just put a few, so it won't be too terrible to drill these out. I'm gonna drill all 4 tank supports out, get them out of there, and I'm gonna cut me some strips of 25 thousandths that are about 3 1/4 inches wide, and they'll fit right in here between the flanges of the ribs. I'll have them short by an 1/8 inch or so there's no interference there. And then, of course, I'll match drill it, and then I'll sandwich that. It'll be a doubler, basically, or a shim, and I'll sandwich that between the tank support and the skin. And then, when that's all riveted together, I should get a much more consistent look of the skin on the top side as you're looking at it. So that means I've got some work to do before I can really do anything more here, because this has to get done before the bottom skin goes on, because once that skin goes on, I can't get in here. So I got to flip this thing over again and drill all this out. I need to get those pieces sheared up, match drilled, and installed, and then I can get it flipped back over and kind of pick back up again from this stage. Got some strips sheared up. This is some 25 thousandths, same thickness as the ribs. Got them at about 16 3/4 by 3 inches, which will fit just inside of the rib flanges on both sides. And it will allow me to catch these holes, all the holes except for the outer holes which go into the ribs. And it's just about as wide, maybe just a touch wider than the tank support. So what I got to do now is go ahead and get these match drilled. And I'm wondering, for the sake of saving time, I might be able to maybe do 2 at a time. Let's see here. Maybe if I just stick 2 together here and maybe clamp them on the table so they don't move on me through a spoil board, I guess. And at least maybe do 2 at a time, save a little time. Yeah, that worked pretty good. I got those drilled out. I'll deburr these now. And there we go. Those strips will fit on the underside, of course, along each one. That'll bring the thickness to the total thickness of the rib, or bring it up to the rib thickness, and then the tank support will sit perfectly straight across, if that makes any sense. Here's what I'm doing. I've got a tank support that I haven't done anything with. This is straight from the kit. And then I have this one that I've reworked. I've actually drilled it out of here, pulled it, and I've reworked it. And what I've done is I've taken the curve out of it. So when you look at these, as you get them, you can see there's quite a bit of a curve on this surface here. If you were to imagine a continuous line coming across this surface over to this one, it's got a curve. Well, the problem is when you put it, this skin, albeit it's curved because it's the top side of the wing, but it's very, very little. So when you put this on and you rivet it, if you were to hold this surface tangent to the skin, you end up with about a 1/4 inch gap right there. Well, what happens is when you rivet this, you just end up forcing this top skin to kind of conform to this shape. And that's where I was getting this really weird rippling in there that I didn't like. So I took this and I made it not so curved. It's kind of hard to tell, but you'll see if I was to hold this up here, tangent, it matches. The way I did that was I just took 2 boards here. I set this up between 2 boards. Got a little aluminum tube, give me some space here. And I just took the bottom end of my hammer and I just pushed on it all the way down, little by little. And you can see what it's doing. It's kind of taking that curve out. Now I'm doing this with one hand. With 2 hands, I'm able to actually get a little more force on it. But I just do that until I get a relatively straight profile across this surface to this surface here. Now, as I get up to the tank supports up here, I won't do that quite as much because there is a little bit more of a radius here. But you can see even this one probably would still work here pretty good versus what they give you, which has got that gap. I think doing this in combination with the doublers that I'm gonna add, the 25,000 doublers to take up the gap between the flange of the ribs, that and straightening those out should give me more of a uniform look across the top skin here. Here's a good example that'll show it a little better, I think. I've got the reworked part on top and the RANS factory part on the bottom, and you can see just how much curve they have in the tank support there. It's too much. I'm not sure why they've done it that way, or maybe they just didn't know. But anyways, that's a great way to show it. Here's another way, actually. The RANS part on top, my part on bottom. Just completed that, got everything riveted back in place. And what you can see here is a gap is taken up from the rib flange. It's taken up with the spacer here. You can see it here, maybe. There you go. You know, I didn't go all the way to the rib flange, maybe an inch or so away, but you get the idea. So now the tank support sits straight. The skin sits straight. It doesn't dip down onto it. And all said and done, it's kind of hard to see unless you get in the right light, but the deformation here is considerably less. It looks pretty much just like any other rivet here, where you've just got a small little divot where the rivet head itself is, versus the skin being wrinkly and wavy as it was before. So I'm happy with that change. It did add quite a bit of weight, probably about 6 ounces. So there is that. And really, if I wanted to go lightweight with it, I wouldn't have done a whole strip. I would have done just little pieces this way that just had the 2 holes in it, and just did one here, and so on. And I might just do that. I've got the strips over here. You know, I could just take and shear off little pieces of them, and that would save some weight, because really the material in between these isn't really doing a whole lot. So something to think about on the other wing, or perhaps on the bottom skin when I do this wing here. But by and large, I'm really happy with this change. Got my Pitot and my AOA lines run. I just kind of ran them like this through the rib there, and that's where they're going to terminate up here. I just used some of these wire ties, wire management clip things. I don't know what you call them. They're little double-sided stick tape, but I went ahead and riveted them to the ribs anyway, and just used some zip tie. I ran the lines through some loom. I really didn't need to do that, but I had some loom just sitting around, just for abrasion. And of course it'll come and terminate right there. So I got that done. I need to glue the rubber scupper thing on yet. I should have done that before when the skin was flat on the table. I didn't really realize that I needed to do that then until I had seen a video from RANS after. The manual isn't really clear, at least my manual isn't really clear, the order and really when you're supposed to put that on. I think they didn't revise my manual, the version I have, when they came out with the scupper, but it's no big deal. You can, honestly, you can put it in at any time. Just would have been easier with it flat on the table. But everything else is pretty much ready for the skin to lay on here and start working that whole bottom skin installation. So looking good. Got the bottom skin on the wing, done all the work I need to do to the leading edge here. Match drilled all the holes into the spar. Did a micro stop countersink on all of them. Dimpled. I took my edge bender, broke this edge a little bit first, and then dimpled them. Got that all real nice. I put together my system here that I did for my Pitot and AOA, and really happy with how that turned out. As I mentioned before, I had drawn these parts up here, doubler ring, and then a new cover, and all these parts here fit underneath the skin, and then the cover has the cutout there for the Pitot mount. I've got everything, all my Pitot AOA lines are run in there. You might be able to see, no. I did put the rubber scupper in there. I glued that down with Pro Seal. My kit has this, some of the earlier kits don't. Of course, I had it all set on the cradle, I guess you call it. And I did have to shim that corner up a little bit to get 0, 0 all the way down, which I was able to get. And here's my Pitot AOA. They go in here and they just take a turn right up like so. And you can see here's the 1, 2, 3 blocks I was using when I was checking the wing twist, and I have no twist. So the next step here is to start riveting the leading edge with the stainless countersink rivets, starting in the middle and working out both directions, and then working our way back row by row and leaving, I think, the last 4 rows out so that we can work the trailing edge. This took a little longer. All said and done, this has been about 2.5 months on this wing, but I was not working on it most of that time. I would come out here for a day or two, knock out a little bit of work, wouldn't touch it for a week or two. I had family come in and stay 1 week, and then I had a friend come in and stay a week, and then the holidays and everything else. So, yeah, this is 2.5 months. Now, the right wing, I still am debating if I'm going to document more of that process because I didn't really go step by step on this. But the right wing, I believe, if I just knock it out, say I start on the right wing next month, February, I think, within 3 weeks, I could probably have the whole week done. Probably even 2 weeks, but I don't want to really bust myself doing it. So hoping to get the right wing done maybe by end of February. I project these dates and then I end up not making them. I'm off, kind of like Elon Musk. Anytime he announces something new with Tesla, it never happens the day he says. Yeah, that's kind of me. But I'm still on pace. I'll be at 1 year in a couple of weeks since I got the kit, and I wanted to have all the big parts done in a year, and I'm going to be really close to that. I might be a month or 2 behind, and keep in mind, I had 4 months that I didn't work on it this summer because I wasn't feeling well. So that considered, I'm actually doing really well, and I'm on target. Well, here we go. I've got the bottom skin placed up on there. Everything has been match drilled, dimpled, countersunk on the leading edge extrusion. Got it all Clecoed in place here, and it's good to go. I did have to file this leading edge, when it came down, it was extending past the ridge on the extrusion here by about 8, maybe 10 thousandths. And it was only for about the first maybe 3 feet. And then it was fine all the way, the rest of the way down. So what I did was I just took and I just filed the skin back, just lightly filed it, worked it until I got it to the point where it pretty much lines right up with the extrusion. So I didn't have to do that on the top skin. For whatever reason I did on the bottom. It was no big deal, real easy to fix. So next step here is to go ahead and everything's Clecoed in place. I've got every other hole available, and I will rivet the leading edge here. Start in the middle, I work my way out on both sides, and then from there start riveting each row back and leave the last 4 rows. Match drill the rear and do a full finish final closeout. Well, I'm getting ready to put that first row of rivets in the leading edge. But before I do anything, I just want to do a double check here and make sure that my wing is sitting at 0 degrees flat. I've got a 1, 2, 3 block sitting up here on the aft spar and another sitting up here on that edge, right where the skin meets the leading edge there. And I've got my 48-inch level set across there, and I'm currently reading, if you can see it, let me turn the light on. There we go. I'm reading 0 degrees. I'll take this. I'll keep it in the same orientation. And I'll do the same thing up here. And let me get it. And I'm reading 0.0, it kind of flickers between 0.0 and 0.5, 0.05 of a degree. I'm not, yeah, it's 0.0. So there we go. Everything is nice and straight, no twist in there. I'll go ahead and rivet. And as I work my way back, I'll probably do like 1, 2, maybe 3 rows. I'll come back, set this back up, make sure nothing's getting funky. And then if I'm still sitting there at 0, then I'll just go ahead and work my way back except for the last 4 rows. Do all my match drilling, getting all that prepped. And then one final check before I rivet that in, because that's really what's gonna, this last row is really what's gonna lock it in at that twist, or no twist. Well, let's start riveting. I will start about here. Work my way out towards the root, come back here, work my way out towards the tip, and get this riveted in. Yet another operation that I'm always apprehensive about closing something up, and now I'm officially closing up the wing. I won't be able to really get in there and do anything easily after this, but I've gone through and I've checked everything. Everything's in there that I want in there. So I guess I'll just do it. Oh, did I mention? I didn't. Let me show you this. USB cable, right? What's that doing there? Well, let me show you. I have a piece here that I had cut. It's an inspection cover. And see those little holes there? Well, that is for this. And this ends up fitting up in here, and I get a flush, let me get that thing in there. A flush USB-C, well, you get the idea. The reason for that is, I had mentioned it in the part 2 of the left wing build. I'm gonna machine a mount to hold a GoPro. So I'll have a GoPro sitting here, and I want to be able to power the GoPro and control it. And this way, I can have just a short little USB-C cable go right from here, plug into here, and then this will plug in there, and this runs through the leading edge, comes out here, which will come out here, I'll just run it down and work its way into the panel to the camera controller that I'm going to be putting in there. So I guess I thought I'd mention that as well while I'm here showing. But yeah, everything is in here. So what the heck? Let's just get some riveting going. Let's close up this wing. All right, that front row in the spar is all riveted. And as I come across here, everything feels good. There's a couple rivets. This one, the stem is a little high. I can just feel it. I'll have to come in there and file that down. There's maybe 2 or 3 that are like that. All the rest of them are fine. All of the edges are real nice up against the spar. There's one area that's I think it's right here. I can just feel the skin. I may come in with a little bit of 320 and just kind of buff that a little bit. But yeah, overall pretty good. I did a mix of the pneumatic puller and my Marson electric puller. Kind of did, you know, I had them every other hole Clecoed. So I ran the first ones with the Marson, and then I came in and did the pneumatic. So every other one is a different process, and I didn't find really any difference between them. So I did the same thing down here as well. So good. Well, this is it. Like, I'm committed now. This skin is going to be on here. So at this point, work your way back row by row and get it put on there. All right, I've got all the rivets in except for, I stopped about 5 rows in from the back. That'll give me room to lift up the skin, do the match drilling and deburring and clean up before riveting back down. But everything turned out really good. Show you my Pitot mount here. Got all the rivets in here in place. And I gotta tell you, it is sturdy. I'm really happy with that. That's a great setup. So let's see, next thing I need to do, I got my little clamp here is buckling the skin. I guess I can take that off now. Next thing I need to do is start preparing all of this, match drilling through the aft spar. I'll do one more check to make sure I don't have any twist. Because again, this last row here, this is what's gonna lock it in. If there's any shearing right there, that's gonna set twist, but nothing has moved so far. I'll do one more final check, make sure we're at 0-0. Come in here, match drill. And then at that point, then we can finish those last few rows. And then the wing is all closed up. And then it's on to fuel tank stuff. At that point, what I'll do is I'll probably take the wing off, flip it over. I'll take the Pitot tube off. I'll flip it over, set it back on my extrusions, and work on the fuel tank with the wing right side up. The trailing edge is now match drilled all the way down. Didn't run into any issues there. It's a pretty simple operation. So now what I need to do is remove all these Clecos here, lift this skin up, get all my deburring and cleanup done. So then I can lay it back down and finish those last few rows. Okay, I'm approaching the last row here, and these here, right next to these hinge arms, are too close to get my rivet gun, my Marson in there, or even my pneumatic. And in fact, even here's my manual puller, It's even a little too close for this. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use the manual puller with my wedge tool. I already did this one here. And this just lets you get the tool at an angle. Slip that over it and then rivet it. I'll show it here. Well, I'm happy to report that the wing is fully riveted. Everything is complete here. This took, let's see, how long was I out here today? 2, 3, 4. This was about 3.5 hours, maybe close to 4 hours for everything. That includes, all the riveting, the drilling, the deburring, and finish riveting back here, putting all the rivets in the inspection rings and so on. So not too bad. Like I say, everything turned out really good. Really happy with it. No gotchas anywhere. I like it.